You're listening to A Catholic's Perspective with The Religious Hippie. That's me, the podcast all about being a young Catholic surviving in a secular world. Around here, we pray first, pop off second. Whether you're struggling, thriving, or somewhere in between, this podcast is for you. So grab an iced coffee and let's chat. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the pod. It's honestly so crazy to me that August is almost over. It feels like just yesterday that it was New Year's, and now we're almost into autumn. And honestly, it just feels like I am losing my mind with how fast that the years are flying by at this point. But nonetheless, I am also very excited for the fall weather, mainly because then it'll be a little bit more manageable here in the South when it starts to cool off. So I am just really excited to finally be able to get outside and start hiking without having a stroke, because it's literally so hot outside. I think it's like 103 degrees right now, and I'm not having it. But at the same time, that's in the South. I am currently in Chicago visiting my parents, and due to a mix-up with times and tickets, I'll basically be here for a month. Well, at this point, I've already been here for a while, but it ended up working out really well, so all in God's timing. But just please, if I could just ask you guys to please continue praying for my dad and my family, we would greatly appreciate prayers. But now, I don't really have too many crazy updates or anything like that. I'm kind of going to take a little bit of a hiatus from social media while I'm in Chicago. So that doesn't mean that I'm not posting necessarily, because I have a lot of scheduled posts that I have to go up, just because I need to stay on top of things in that way, just so it doesn't pile up and then create more problems for me when I come off my hiatus. But I'm still going to basically be off social media, so people won't really be able to reach me. None of my DMs are open. Well, they're hardly open anyways, because I get so many. It's really, really hard to keep up. But if you guys don't get an email back from me or anything like that, normally my inbox is pretty full, but I still try to get back to most people, especially if it's really important. But during the month that I'm in Chicago, that won't be happening, because I just need a little bit of a mental health break. And I think it's really important for all of us to be taking mental health breaks from social media, and I take a lot of them, except I don't feel like a lot of people know I do that, because I do schedule posts. So people still think that I'm on social media and I'm posting in real time and I'm on these apps, but in reality, I'm out experiencing life and just having a jolly old good time. So that was something I haven't said since I was 5. But yeah, I'm really enjoying, hopefully, I don't know yet, but hopefully I'm enjoying the weather in Chicago a lot more than I'm enjoying the weather in the South, because it is humid here, which is to be expected, right? But like, you can't go outside without not being able to breathe, and I'm kind of over it. Not gonna lie. Anyways, but today's topic episode is interesting because it's in regards to dating, and I think there's a lot of these like red flag videos and podcasts that are out there when it comes to dating, but I also wanted to throw in some green flags, because we constantly focus on the negativity, and while most of these are going to be red flags, I also just wanted to throw in some green flags at the end that you should be looking out for, because even though it's important to be told what not to look for, I think it's also important to be told what to look for. So this is based off of my experiences and what I've gone through. And so this podcast is basically the one that I wish I would have had while I was navigating relationships and dating. It really, really would have saved me a lot of headaches. However, something that I recognize too is that I wasn't always emotionally ready for some of the information in this podcast. Okay, and maybe you aren't either. Maybe you see some of these red flags in your relationship and you'll get mad or defensive because somewhere deep down you know it's wrong, but you're too attached and you just aren't ready to let go yet. Or maybe the green flags are the ones you need pointed out to you so you can go and pursue that man or that woman that you've been thinking about asking out for a while. Who knows, honestly. But either way, just please keep an open heart as we kind of go through these and discuss these, because it can be rough when you're in relationships. It's a very sensitive topic, and I want to be sensitive towards that, but I also need to tell you guys the hard truth, and I'm not going to shy away from that. And I also just want to say that this advice goes for both women and men, so fellas, if you guys want to stick around for this one, definitely do so. But yeah, I think just going over the red flags in specifically Catholic relationships and then the green lights in Catholic relationships are going to be really helpful here. So we're just going to start by kind of diving into the red flags. And these are things that you should absolutely watch out for in a relationship, especially when you're trying to live out your faith in that relationship. So let's just dive in, okay? Number one, the first red flag I want to point out is someone who does not take their faith seriously. I know. It's like the basics of the basics when it comes to finding somebody. But it is a serious issue that actually a lot of my girlfriends have been running into while trying to find a husband. I actually have one girlfriend and she tells me about her nightmare dating experiences. And literally she does nothing wrong. Because if she did, I'd be like, hey, maybe you should try this or that. Literally nothing wrong. And she's had all these nightmare experiences. And I'm sure there are guys out there who have experienced the exact same thing, okay? And one of the main ones that she seems to continuously run into are these guys who constantly say they're Catholic but are also pro-choice, pro-LGBTQ, pro all of these things that do not align with the Catholic faith. And it's just so flabbergasting to hear about all of her experiences. And maybe I'll have her on at some point to talk about it. We've kind of talked about it, and she seemed interested in coming on and kind of sharing her experiences with the girlies so that you guys don't feel so alone in what you've experienced. But yeah, we'll see if that actually ends up happening. I know they're kind of sensitive topics too, but it's crazy. It is genuinely crazy out there. So, it's just weird how it's like, I don't know. Okay. It's one thing if you go to mass every single Sunday, right? But in a relationship, you need Christ to be the center of everything. That means both people are striving to live a life that reflects sainthood, right? That reflects Christ. And if your boyfriend or girlfriend is indifferent to things like daily prayer or going to confession, going to mass, growing in virtue, praying the rosary, that can all be a huge sign that you guys are not on the same page spiritually. And faith should definitely be something you both are actively cultivating, not just with each other, but in your private lives. Okay, according to the Pew Research, 61% of religiously affiliated couples believe that their shared faith is critical for a successful relationship. You guys should be dating other Catholics. Now, I'm not saying that non-Catholics are completely off the table, especially if the Catholics in your area act more like Protestants than they do Catholic, but the thing is, you really have to understand you need to have those hard conversations with somebody if you're dating them and they are not Catholic, because your faith needs to come first. And if they are going to hinder that, pull you away from Christ or anything like that, or not raise your kids Catholic, that's a no-go. You cannot do that, because marriage is a vocation, not just to get you and your husband to heaven, but also any children you have. And it's so much harder when you guys are not on the same page religiously. Now, I know some people are going to be like, oh, well, it worked for me. Congratulations. Like, that's amazing. And I genuinely am so happy for you, but you are the minority. Okay, that does not happen for a majority of people who date non-Catholics. And I need to be real with you guys about that, because so many people are enchanted with this idea of dating a Protestant, and then they don't actually have these hard conversations. They're married, and then they find out they differ so much in faith that it impacts their marriage negatively and then impacts their children negatively. So please just keep that in mind, okay? If you're going to date a non-Catholic, make sure that you guys are on the same page with everything. And make sure that you are not giving up your faith just to please them or because you want things to be easier. Your faith should come first, and they need to know that. Next, we have a lack of respect for boundaries. Boundaries are so important, you guys. Physical boundaries, spiritual boundaries, emotional, whatever it might be. A boyfriend or girlfriend who pressures you to go against your values or isn't respecting your personal space is a huge red flag. If you're in a healthy relationship, both people should feel respected, and they should feel safe to express their thoughts and feelings and beliefs without fear of blow-ups or manipulation. Honestly, you should feel completely comfortable going to them and telling them about the past that you experienced, the things that you struggle with, how you're growing, what you're learning, and so on. It's one thing if you feel uncomfortable telling them because maybe you haven't reached that level of emotional intimacy yet, but it's a whole other thing to be completely afraid of what they might say or do, or how they might actually use that information against you in the future. That is a huge red flag. Okay, let's move on. A lack of accountability or responsibility. Now, in any relationship, it's really important that both people are willing to be held accountable for their actions and for their decisions, because when you're in a relationship, your actions and decisions now impact a whole other human being. And you have to be careful about that and think about that. So if one person is constantly avoiding responsibility or blaming others for their mistakes, sometimes that also looks like them putting all the blame on their ex for why their last relationship failed. This can lead to resentment and instability in the relationship in the future, especially if you guys decide to get married. A mature person, however, they're willing to admit when they're wrong. They can seek forgiveness and say sorry. They can grow from experiences, good or bad, and they don't throw other people under the bus. I cannot tell you the pit I would get in my stomach when a boyfriend would throw me under the bus in front of his friends because he wanted to impress the men and he thought it'd be funny. Well, I mean, it was to them, I guess, but it caused a lot of issues in our relationship because I was always the punching bag whenever we were around his group. And as you can imagine, that relationship did not last long. That's fun. But really quick, before we dive in further, if you guys like this podcast and are enjoying the content that I put out, please consider becoming a behind the scenes patron over on Patreon. On Patreon, you'll get full versions of YouTube videos, podcasts that are ad-free and censor-free, and other perks like monthly Zoom calls and live streams depending on what tier you pick. It's a really great way to support this apostolate since I am only able to do this work because of your guys' generous support. I put in a lot of work and a lot of hours to make sure that I can get you guys the content and information that I feel is important for you to know as Catholics surviving in a secular world. So any and all support is greatly appreciated. And if you cannot make a reoccurring donation, I totally understand. You can make a one-time donation on my website at theligioushippie.com. You can also get an item on my donation center where you donate and then receive an item. And if you can't donate at all, I understand money's very tight these days. If you could just please like, subscribe, and share this with somebody who you feel like needs it would be very, very helpful. Thank you so much, you guys. And now back to the episode. Okay, this next one kind of is personal. I'm not gonna lie. They don't support your friendships or relationships with others. Okay, if your boyfriend or girlfriend tries to isolate you from family, friends, your phone, your best friend, any community, that is a huge warning sign. A healthy relationship will look like you guys having your own hobbies, and sometimes that means having those hobbies outside of each other. So maybe he enjoys biking and you enjoy baking. He'll go biking with his friends and you can have some tea with your girlfriends. There shouldn't be any guilt tripping or gaslighting when you want to see your friends or when he wants to see his friends. I know there can be a bit of jealousy that can form if one person has a more stable friend group than the other one, or if one person has an unhealthy relationship attachment or like insecurity problems. And it's really important to keep communication open, okay? Never assume that the person you are dating is doing things on purpose to annoy you or offend you. Always communicate openly and without judgment, okay? If the other person reacts with defensiveness or becomes kind of standoffish, they're probably not the one you want to be dating. But I will say, if you know that you have insecurity issues or you have attachment issues, you do need to work on that. That is not on your partner to fix. I hate the fact that I just said partner. That is not on your boyfriend or girlfriend, fiance, husband to fix, okay? You need to actually fix that. It's not up to them to fix the problems that you're going through. They can help, sure, but it's unreasonable to assume that they should cater to your every whim and need when you're the one with the problem. I'm just saying, it's not healthy to become extremely jealous or overly upset at your boyfriend or girlfriend for having a group of friends and being able to hang out with them, with or without you. Okay, moving on. They have a history of broken promises or commitment issues. Yeah, okay. If you're in a relationship with somebody who repeatedly failed to follow through on promises, whether they're big or small, it doesn't matter, then they might have commitment issues, and commitment is essential in a relationship. Everybody should know this. Everybody should know this. And someone who cannot be trusted to keep their word is not someone you want to build a life with. Honestly, this happens in so many groups I know, and it's so odd to me. But basically, there are these tight-knit groups, and they all just like date each other inside that group. And some of them have even gotten engaged, then broke it off, and then proceeded to date other people in the same group. Gross. That is so gross. This is a big red flag for a group and in general. Just keep your distance from these types of people, okay? It's not healthy. That's weird behavior. Red flag. But the reason that I kind of bring this up is because each one of them struggles with commitment issues. I mean, getting engaged multiple times just to be not sure with multiple people, like, don't get me wrong, it's better to break it off before things become permanent and, you know, you can't break things off. But when it happens so many times with the same people, the same group, you just know that there is a bigger issue there than just not being sure. Okay. And sometimes people are single into their 30s and 40s through no fault of their own. Like they're doing their best and everything like that. They're perfectly fine. Just haven't found anybody. But then other people, you know why they're single into their 30s and 40s. Anyways, moving on. They're dismissive of your emotional needs. In any relationship, both people need to feel heard and validated when appropriate. Okay, if your girlfriend comes to you and says, honey, this person hurt my feelings, so I doxed her entire family and I killed their dog, do not affirm her or validate her. Call the cops. But if your boyfriend or girlfriend constantly dismisses your feelings, belittles you, teases you in front of others, or just in general makes you feel like your emotional needs are not important, it's just, that's not healthy, okay? You want someone who is empathetic, who listens actively, who can comfort you of times of distress and vice versa. And this doesn't mean that they can't call you out on bad behavior or something like that. We all need correction, and sometimes we need a little tough love from time to time, but that is completely different from being dismissive or belittling. Although some people don't know the difference and they think that just being corrected means that they're being belittled, but whatever. But I find again that this tends to happen more, like the belittling and everything happens more when the couple is around a friend group. I don't know what it is about being around other people, but suddenly it gives the couple permission to like take jabs at each other or like air their dirty laundry to people who don't want to know about it. And I find that this is usually a technique that narcissists use to control other people. So just be aware of that. If your boyfriend or girlfriend is bashing you in front of other people or making fun of you or something, even if it's behind your back, that is not normal.
Hey, it's Paris. You know, I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
That is not something you should be doing. And if you're the one doing it, stop it. That's really unhealthy. That is a red flag. You are the red flag. So don't do that. Okay. The next red flag is they don't honor chastity or purity. Okay, this is really critical, especially when you're dating as a Catholic. If your boyfriend or girlfriend is unwilling to live according to the church's teachings on chastity, that can lead to just so many unhealthy dynamics in the relationship. And it just undermines like this like foundation of mutual respect that you guys should have for each other. And when you're dating someone, both people should honor your purity, okay? Vice versa, like both of you, whether that's emotional, again, physical or spiritual. And if one person is not on board with it, that is concerning because you both need to be on the same page. I mean, it's been proven that 50% of people, like couples who cohabitate before marriage, are more likely to divorce than those who wait. So it's just really important that you maintain boundaries, that you're maintaining chastity, and that you're having these open conversations with the person you're dating to make sure you guys are on the same page. And here's the thing, even if you talk about it, that doesn't mean that they are on the same page. You need to read their actions. If their actions prove that they do not live a chaste life, if they're not respecting you, etc., but they say they will, or they say they are going to, or they are, that's just a red flag because their actions would prove that. But unfortunately, they're just basically lying to your face if they say one thing and their actions prove another. So just keep that one in mind because that is something that both men and women face. It's very sad. Okay, moving on. Next, they refuse to engage in serious conversations about the future. So I've had this. I tried so hard with so many people that I dated to just have conversations about what the future might look like, or what it might, see what they would want out of a future, so that I could understand their perspective. It never ended well, unfortunately, because they were not mature enough to be able to have those conversations, and that sucks. But anyways, if the person you're dating, okay, refuses to engage in any type of serious conversation about the future, or let's say like someone is unwilling to discuss important topics like marriage, children, politics, vaccines, homeschooling, vocation, that is not going to work out. Okay.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
But I also want to be clear here that it is normal to not have every detail of the future mapped out. I don't think most of us know what we're going to be doing in 10 years, but having a plan is important. But I find that there are just a lot of people who are completely evasive about these topics. Like they don't want to talk about it. They're uninterested. They don't want to have difficult conversations. And people like that just are not ready for a relationship that leads to a sacrament like marriage. And I think the most annoying relationship I was in was when I was trying to calmly and just nonchalantly explain how he hurt my feelings. And it was like this whole scene. It was like, Gia, shoplifting, gone bad at such an early age. Where's your mom? Just kidding. It was like the same vibe though. But like, they would be like, what? You don't think I respect you? I do so much for you. I'm sorry you're so sensitive. Yeah, that one didn't last very long either. Okay, and then the last one that I have for the red flags, and my guardian angel knows I could go on and on and on, but the last one I'm going to specifically say is that they have unhealthy coping mechanisms. Everybody struggles. Everyone goes through tough times. We are human after all, but how somebody deals with their struggles will either be a winner or a deal breaker. Okay, if your boyfriend or girlfriend turns to destructive habits like substance abuse, excessive anger, porn, or just avoidance, like shutting everybody out, not wanting to involve, like not wanting to talk about it, just completely sheltering themselves in their rooms and just basically pushing everyone away. I don't know how else to explain it. But without making an effort to address these issues, that will lead to really, really bad problems in marriage. Okay, you both need to be striving for virtue and growth, and especially in the face of challenges. And some of those challenges, they could be porn, nicotine, alcohol, shopping addiction, maybe something else. But I will tell you from experience, people can hide addictions very well. Sometimes for years. And then when you do find out, you're married and that addiction is now impacting you and any kids you have. So it's important to ask them about any past or current addictions they might have. Maybe not on the first date, but at least by 3 months of dating them, you should be having these very hard conversations. Some people like having the hard conversations right off the bat, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But you have to really feel out the room a little bit and just kind of make sure that the timing's right when asking those questions and it's not just out of the blue. All right, so now let's turn things around and kind of look at some green flags. I'll be honest, I based all of these off my own relationship and what I see in my now husband. All of these things were very prominent and they were very attractive to me. So the first green flag, emotional maturity. I think it's so important to find someone who can communicate openly and kindly and who is willing to grow and work through any type of conflict that you have. And, someone who also values your needs and their own. Basically, that just means that they understand how to navigate tough conversations with respect and care without like manipulation or defensiveness. And some people don't know how to deal with their emotions or other people's emotions. And if that's you or that is somebody you're marrying, you just need to keep in mind that the person you marry will have to carry you through the death of your parents, motherhood or fatherhood, pregnancy if you're a woman, and a lot of other things that can happen while we live in this fallen world. So you want someone who can help carry the burden, not add to it. So just make sure if you're the one that's struggling with that emotional whatever, that you are getting help for that, because that is, again, not on your partner to fix. Said partner again. That is not on your boyfriend or girlfriend or fiance or husband or wife to fix. That is your responsibility. So you need to be taking, the appropriate actions to be able to overcome that. And yeah, so there's that.
Switch to Shiseido Benefiance Wrinkle Smoothing Eye Cream and discover why people are calling it the best eye cream. A powerhouse formula that targets 5 types of eye area wrinkles. 96% of users saw reduced wrinkles and diminished dark circles after just 7 days. Shop Shiseido Benefiance Wrinkle Smoothing Eye Cream at Sephora and discover how change can happen in the blink of an eye. Consumer tested by 110 women.
Okay. Next is respecting your vocation. That is huge. Okay. A good boyfriend or girlfriend is going to support you in your personal relationship with God, in your career, your studies, your family, whatever else God is calling you to in this life. But remember that the same goes for them. You need to offer the same support for their vocation. They should understand that you're a whole person outside of the relationship, and they will encourage you to pursue your own path to holiness. And actually, couples who pray together are statistically, I believe it's 30% more likely to report satisfaction in their relationship. So do with that information what you will. All I'm saying is that it's really important to support each other spiritually and physically. Okay, and then the next one is spiritual maturity. Yeah, I think the reality is that we're all in different places spiritually, and we will fluctuate in our faith over the years, dry seasons, on fire seasons, etc. But someone might be just beginning their journey, okay? And that's okay. But if you are already well established in your faith, you might want someone who is the same, okay? That's just true. You don't want to have to drag somebody else along in their faith journey, especially if they're not interested in it, And this doesn't mean that, they need to be perfect and vice versa, but they should be striving to deepen their relationship with God and be willing to be challenged in their faith. And that is something I personally needed, especially as a woman. And it's something I deeply admire about my husband, how unwavering his faith is, even in the hardest times, because then it inspires me to stay strong too. And I need that personally. And I think most women do. I mean, if you ask a woman what she wants in a man, she wants a leader, someone who's going to lead her in the faith specifically. And that's just natural. Like, that's just human nature. That's what we want. So yeah, that's very, very important to have that spiritual maturity. Okay, the next one is that they are pro-life. This is not an option. They have to be pro-life in theory and in practice. The person who you are dating, they need to value protecting life at all stages. And you can see whether or not they do this through like their family planning, the respect for the elderly, support of the pro-life movement in general, or just simply in how they view others, if they view them made in the image of likeness in God, or if they tend to look down on others and they're disrespectful to wait staff, etc. I knew a couple that got married, and the man said he was pro-life and open to having children, and then flash forward and they get married and everything, and then she finds out he lied about all of that, and it was a mess, okay? That's grounds for annulment, might I add, and they got annulled a few years later after trying to work it out, but he refused to change his stance, and it's really, really sad. And she said there were warning signs that she just didn't see at the time because nobody told her, or she just didn't know what to look for, but she sees them now, and it was just really, really devastating for her. So that's one of the reasons why you really do need to be careful about the person you marry. And granted, she was lied to. It's not like she knew, but that's why we have to have these really difficult conversations and challenge each other in relationships to see how we will react when, a difficult moment comes up. So that's really difficult, and just definitely keep her in your prayers. The last one is they are selfless and willing to sacrifice. That is a huge green flag. Okay, anyone who is willing to sacrifice their own desires for the good of the relationship or the family, green flag. That can look like giving up time and energy or personal plans to support you or the family. They're putting love and sacrifice before self-interest, which is a huge reflection of Christ's sacrificial love for us. And this is something that actually just automatically drew me to Max. You know, specifically when we were just friends, it was cold out one night and he gave me his jacket and his only jacket so I would not freeze. And that sounds basic, yeah, but sometimes it's the small things that really mean the most. And it just constantly reflected in his actions with me. He's always putting me first and never once ever made me feel like a burden. Obviously, I also reciprocate that, and I'm not unreasonable with things, because sometimes I think we can start to feel entitled to people sacrificing things for us, and that's not it at all. Okay, I sacrifice for him as well. He sees that, and it's a mutual thing, and it's beautiful, you know, but it's definitely something that you want in a husband or a wife, somebody who's going to do hard things and sacrifice for you every day.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
So yeah, those are basically all the red and green flags I have for you. But again, in any relationship, one of the most important factors is whether or not both people are growing towards God together. Okay, if your boyfriend or girlfriend is not yet in the habit of daily prayer or attending mass regularly, but they do express a desire to take that step, that's great, you know, but make sure that there is follow through. You both can support each other in deepening your relationship with God, but it's important that they aren't complacent in their faith or uninterested in growing in it, because that lack of effort could create dissonance in the long term. So just ask yourself questions like, how does my boyfriend or girlfriend respond when we talk about faith or spiritual practices? Are they willing to join me in prayer or attend mass together or adoration? Do they go to confession regularly? And if you're dating someone who is Catholic but not practicing, and you go into the relationship thinking, I'll just pray them into becoming the person I know that they should be, you are setting both of you guys up for frustration, okay? The person may not feel that they have a need to change, or they might not be open to it, and that can lead to resentment or division, and your role in the relationship should not be to convert anybody. Instead, focus on inspiring them and encouraging them, you know? Set the expectation by your own life, not telling them what to do, but by living it out in your own life. However, I do not suggest ever dating a lukewarm Catholic in general, but if you are married to one, setting the example and inspiring them is going to be probably more helpful mindset than I need to convert them. And one of the best ways to prevent misunderstandings, frustration, or any kind of conflict in the future is just to set those clear expectations early on in the relationship. And this doesn't just involve discussing your values or like what you want in the future. This needs to include your boundaries. So any type of boundaries. Those are so important in every relationship. So make sure you guys know what yours are and that you're communicating them clearly to the people that you are dating. But yeah, with all of that out of the way, I also came up with some questions that I think might be helpful to ask yourself whether or not you are in a relationship or you're looking to date. And I also want to say, don't just think about the other person when answering some of these questions. Reflect on yourself too. Look in the mirror. How can you improve? Okay, here's some questions. Number 1, how do you envision growing in faith together as a couple? Do you both understand what the Catholic faith means to each of you? Are there specific areas in your faith where you feel called to grow, and how can your person support you in that journey? How important is prayer in your relationship? Do you feel comfortable praying together? And if not, how can you grow in that area? How can you encourage each other in your individual faith journeys? How do you handle times when one of you struggles with your faith? What does attending Mass regularly look like in your relationship? Are both of you committed to making it a priority, even during a busy or difficult season? How do you approach the idea of raising children in the faith? Are you aligned on what the church teaches about that? Are you both open to the idea of spiritual guidance from others, like a priest, a spiritual director, a Catholic counselor, if needed? What are your boundaries when it comes to physical affection or intimacy, and how can you honor them together? Are you able to communicate openly and respectfully even when you disagree? What role does forgiveness play in your relationship? How do you handle conflict, and are you quick to forgive one another when you fall short? Do you feel heard and respected when you talk, and how can you improve communication to strengthen your understanding of each other's beliefs? Are you dating to deepen your faith together, or do you feel like you're trying to fix or change the person you're dating? Do you both share a similar vision for the future, especially in terms of how your faith will shape your life together, like marriage, family, work, etc.? Do you both see the sacrament of marriage as a vocation or a lifelong commitment to holiness? How do you plan to make decisions together, especially those big life decisions? How can you both ensure that your relationship remains grounded in God's will, especially during the times of doubt or uncertainty? Okay, so what's the takeaway here? Well, figure out what you are looking for in a relationship. Do not lower your standards because you are desperate to get married. And I feel the need to say that with how many of you email me asking if you should settle. And the answer is a big fat no. Do not settle. If you do not feel peace in a relationship, then you can probably assume that that relationship is not from God and it's not for you. When my husband and I were dating and then engaged, we went through some of the most horrible stress and drama from outside causes, and it was probably the most stress I'd ever gone through my entire life. And yet, when I was with him, I had peace. I knew it would work out, and that's one of the ways I knew that this relationship was from God, and I never had that with any other relationship. So just keep in mind that at the end of the day, if you feel peace in a relationship, it might be a good sign that that is a relationship from God. All right, I want this podcast to be encouraging and inspiring to you guys, so I want to hear from you, the problems you're going through. If you're in need of encouragement or anything else, email me at askthereligioushippie@gmail.com and put podcast in the subject line to have your email featured on this podcast. Please state whether or not you'd like to remain anonymous, or you can give me a fake name, just whatever works. But I want this podcast to bring us closer together and to handle these struggles together. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to rate, share, and subscribe. This podcast is produced by Amber Rose and is distributed by Metacortex Publishing. This podcast is copyright by The Religious Hippie. Any previously trademarked or copywritten content is used by permission. Information and opinions in this podcast should not be construed as medical advice. Be sure to visit the official website of The Religious Hippie at thereligioushippie.com or find me on social media for other unique content. Thank you.